Excellent. So we're now on Development Officer. If you'd like to say your name.
Harriet Walsh.
Excellent. And Catherine is going to pose a set question.
How do you balance the various responsibilities of Development Officer? Thank you. First of all, I just want to say thank you to everyone for coming. Thanks to everyone I canvassed, and sorry to everyone that I missed. So, first of all, I think it would be valuable just to define what a Development Officer is. Hopefully, I did get that point across whilst I was canvassing. But I just think it would be good to go through it again. So, Development Officer consists of four main things really. So, firstly, the organisation of Freshers Week and also the organisation of the Open Days, working alongside the Welfare Officers and Campaigns Officer. Secondly, involving sponsorship. So, chairman of the sponsorship committee and organising sponsorship for college all year round, and also particularly for Ladies Right and June Ball. Thirdly, careers, organising careers events all year round, and lastly, liaising with alumni and the alumni officer, who is currently George Brooke. So, how do I balance all of these things? Well, for those of you who know me, I do a lot of different things in college, and I'm used to spinning a lot of different plates. So I think the main thing is to make sure that you do balance all of them and nothing gets forgotten. Initially, of course, the first thing that's on the plate is organising the Open Days. So, if elected, that would be the first thing. That would be a good run for organising Freshers Week. Next up, obviously, would be beginning to organise Freshers Week to make sure that it's all in place in time for when the new fresh come, and make sure all runs as smoothly as this year. For example, this year was apparently the best year for College Office for moving people in. But at the same time, it's also important to make sure that whilst organising Freshers Week, you don't forget about sponsorship. All of the big companies that would sponsor June Ball work on an academic yearly basis rather than a Gregorian calendar. So to make sure that that application's in early, in time for June Ball. Next, just all year round, make sure that you're constantly liaising with the alumni and the alumni officer, and to create just like constant, different variety of careers events.
Excellent stuff. So would you like to pose any questions to our Hustings Development Officer? Kirsten.
Is there anything in particular you'd like to change about the role next year?
Is there anything in particular you would like to change about the role next year?
Well, I was talking to Georgia earlier, and in the standing orders, the Development Officer is responsible for communicating with the alumni and to update their part of the website. But having checked on the website, there isn't a section for alumni. Alumni have got their own website, so I think we need to tidy up the standing orders for Development Officer. But the role itself, the main thing that I would want to implement is increase the variety of careers events at Castle. At the moment, obviously, loads of us want to go into law and finance, but if you don't, then there isn't too much on offer. But for example, the careers fair that's coming up on the 22nd, which you obviously should all go to, has kick-started this thing of not just expecting us all to go to EY. We love EY, but not everybody wants to go. So just to increase the variety of careers events and sustain them all year round.
Excellent. Any other questions? Yes.
Obviously there is a new development officer on the current exec. Do you think we change the name so you can significantly change the role? Or is it sort of doing the same thing under a different title?
Yeah, that's an interesting point actually, because of course, Sponsorship Liaison Officer, which is what Development Officer used to be called, it's a relatively young role. I think that indicates how people thought that there was a need for it, and I think that the main thing is to illustrate the relevancy of this role to college and to show that it does deserve to be an exec role. But I think the main difference between it being Sponsorship Liaison Officer and Development Officer is the addition of the alumni element to the role. So liaising with Georgia Brooke and just the alumni officer in general next year, that's the main difference between Sponsorship Liaison. And also putting in standard orders the careers aspect, because beforehand, I remember on Daisy Cummins-Hush, she mentioned how it wasn't actually a part of the role beforehand, but it has been put in because obviously sponsorship and careers are intrinsically linked.
Excellent. Any other questions? Yes.
If you could get absolutely anyone in the world
well, I was actually talking earlier how I think Boris Johnson would probably be a good medium for this one, because even though he did have an Etonian background and that sort of thing, he has overcome his how silly he is, and he uses it to his advantage to just motivate us to do. We can do whatever we like, no matter how people perceive us.
Excellent. Sorry for a little stress here. The camera's upset itself. So this will be a two-part video. So we've got any other questions? Yes, Henry.
Another part of the program was the rest of the week, which mentions how would you go about balancing alcohol element of going out for weeks perhaps providing non-alcoholic events?
Okay, so part of the rule is Fresh Week. How do you balance the alcoholic and non-alcoholic elements of Freshers Week?
This is a really good point. Of course, every year, new fresh arrive expecting that they're just going to have an entire week of getting drunk, and obviously that's not what it's about. Just what it's about. So it's definitely very important to balance the roles, to balance alcohol and non-alcohol elements. So of course, maintain the current nights out that we've got, but I also want to introduce a few different things. So, for example, I want to do some mini low library inductions. This can be either an all-day thing, drop-ins, or you can go around in short tours just to do something together with, like, your housemate or your roommate or your floor mates, or as just something to sort of kickstart the academic element, because I did find during my Freshers Week, you went from being drunk for 7 nights in a row to suddenly starting a degree. Another event that I wanted to do, I was talking to Anna Tomlin about this, was to create an event maybe on the Saturday or the Sunday, so after you've met your parents at matriculation. For example, because it is a shame the way the system works, that not every fresher will have a parent who does their subject, so to do inter-year course groups and meetings, just informal, just to get people chatting, and it's also a way to integrate second years and finalists in with the freshers and make it less intimidating for the freshers from the very start.
Great stuff. Any other questions? Wilbur?
What do you think are the 3 most important skills that the development officer should have? And 3, can you give an example of how you demonstrate that?
What do you think are the 3 most important skills of a development officer, and can you give an example for each one?
Okay, so I think the 3 most important skills, or attributes, I think, is a real dedication to college. Also, secondly, I think good experience with actually getting sponsorship. And thirdly, working well under pressure, because of course the way what the development officer works is that it can be very intense in some periods, and then there can be lulls. So, first of all, dedication to college. I'm a member of CCA Primary Education, I'm a lesson leader for that, work on Toasty Bar. I do a lot of different things around college. I'm University College Hockey Club treasurer. I love getting involved in college. Also Floriat member, etc. So secondly, experience with sponsorship. Like I just mentioned, I'm hockey treasurer. We managed to get £600 worth of sponsorship for just one male team and one female team. So imagine that on the greatest scale of selling the entire college. I dealt with legal contracts, communicating with a college office and with the wider university on that, and I felt I got some really great experience and know-how and contacts through that. And lastly, working well under pressure. Writing for Floria and for the Durham Review of Books, I'm used to tight deadlines, getting things done, but also to a high standard, and also Toasty Bar, it's surprising how much bread you have to butter in about an hour, so.
Okay, good stuff. Will Danskin?
So I recently heard one member of the exec say that some roles on the committee are less important than others. How are you going to challenge the perception that some of the exec roles actually don't do much?
Okay, so good question there on, there's been discussion over how some of the roles in the executive are perceived. How are you going to challenge those perceptions?
That's a really good point, because obviously there's a lot of talk about restructuring the exec, perhaps moving some roles to be non-exec roles. For example, I know development officer is one of the main things for this. But I think that there's been talk about moving development officer into the Keep instead of being on Norman Gallery. I think this is great because it opens up Norman Gallery for rooms for more third years, integrates the exec more. Also, moving into the Keep would mean that you'd be more integrated with third years, finalists and freshers, and also be able to work more closely with campaigns and welfare. But I think the main thing that has got to be done to improve the reputation of development officer, or as it has been known, sponsorship liaison officer, is just to really have visible results to show that you're actually doing something. So sponsorship for June Ball is great, but you have to go to the event to get it. So one of the things I want to do is try and get some deals with local businesses. So you could go to Sanders, get a deal on some pancakes, or for example, if you do DU Sport, or you're a finalist, you're in the library all day, you can go to a restaurant Tuesday and Thursday and have a deal on some food in a restaurant, just to have visible results, just to show that you're definitely doing something, not just during Freshers Week, just all year round, constant careers events, just to show that the role is relevant and useful to college.
Excellent. Any other questions? Yes.
How did you manage the fact that internationals are quite separate from English students because they come in a week earlier?
Okay, on Freshers Week, how would you cope with the fact that internationals are on a separate Freshers Week, and how do you integrate them?
This is a really good point, because having canvassed lots of different freshers, obviously international and home students, what I've learned that it is absolutely vital that there is an international Freshers Week, because of course people have got to sort out SIM cards, bank accounts, that sort of thing, which can't be fit into just 1 week. But I completely agree that there is a problem of integration, because everybody forms friendships in that part of time before all the other home students come. So I was talking to some international freshers about this, and we thought perhaps completely voluntary, not being forced to do this, but you could help home students when they're arriving on Sunday, carry them help the Freps carry their bags up to their rooms, just go oh hi, I'm Harriet, nice to meet you, we're going to the Undy later, it'd be nice to see you, exchange phone numbers, whatever. Also, another way to try and integrate the freshers is through academically, so low library inductions, but also through the inter-year subject-specific groups. So because obviously then you'll also meet international second and third years, and just to merge everyone together to make sure that nobody feels excluded from the home students and nobody feels excluded from the international students.
Excellent. We've got a question at the back.
If you could be sponsored by one company the rest of your life, what would it be?
If you could be sponsored by one company for the rest of your life, what would it be and why?
That is a really hard question. Versace. Because I can't afford it at the moment.
Okay, good stuff. I saw another hand up.
How do you envisage your role within the MC throughout the year, not just focused on usual and
How do you envisage your role within the ENTS team throughout the year, not just Freshers Week and June Ball?
This is great, because I was talking to Harriet Walsh about this, and we were thinking about trying to get some sponsorship for some of the smaller events who've got more of a limited budget. So of course, more generally, of course, Development Officer acts as a sponsorship officer for June Ball and also for Ladies' Night, but I think it's really important to try and make the most of the other events that are going on throughout Castle throughout the year. So heart-shaped cookies on Valentine's Day, or perhaps a pancake day thing. So in the daytime you could go and get some deals with some pancakes and then have free ingredients from, I don't know, Tesco or something like that in the evening. So just to really try and integrate the role, not just for June Ball and Ladies' Night, but with the ENTS throughout the year.
Okay. Yes.
How would you describe Stella Castle to big sponsors?
How would you describe / sell Castle to big sponsors?
Well, in the year before Daisy Cummins was a sponsorship liaison, so they used to have something which was a sponsorship brochure, which they sent out to loads of different companies. I think that's something that we could really bring back. because then it's not just rewriting the same email again and again, it's something which somebody can look at, they think, right, these guys are serious. I think that the main selling point about us is that we are literally in a castle. So we are the figurehead of Durham University, we are the archetype, we are the typical Durham Ra. You've just really got to sell that aspect because, I don't know, so Rupert and Buckley absolutely loved it. That's the angle that they're going for. We are such a niche thing to be able to sponsor. People love us, like EY absolutely love us, of course. That's where we all go. They do that. They did that Durham like quiz, like Code Cracker, where it was like a loo with a K on it, clue, and like you could win £500 if you did all of them. They just to really sell us as Durham, I think.
Okay, Rosie.
You talked about the importance of the alumni relationship. How could you utilise that to benefit careers in the major?
Okay, you talked about the importance of alumni relationships. How would you use that to develop careers?
This is a really good point because talking to Georgia, I managed to find out that there is something called Castle Contacts, which is alumni who have to be contacted in a loads of different range of careers. They make their contact details available to us. That hasn't really been utilised or advertised recently. Like, I didn't even know it existed until recently. So if you want to find it, it's on the alumni page under alumni and Castle Contacts. The real example of this is that all of the people who are coming up to the Careers Fair on the 22nd have been contacted through this. They are Durham graduates, Castle graduates, and it's something where you can really, really utilise the contacts. People love an excuse to come back to Durham, love an excuse to come back to the UND. Also, I was talking to somebody about this, how we could have like an alumni forum, do it by career area, have like every 5th person as an alumnus, and then integrate all years, maybe do like a short application, and just to really try and utilise our alumni, because they've gone through exactly what we've gone through and to reach the goal that we want to. So just to really start utilising them as a resource, because Durham University is going to be centralising a massive database of everyone's results as well. So just to really start utilising it and advertising it and making it accessible.
Excellent. We'll go for our last question of tonight's hustings. Yes.
What happens if selling us as Castle students doesn't work and you get no sponsorship? What are you going to do then?
What happens if selling as Durham students doesn't work? What alternatives are there?
I think that is a possibility with some companies, but I think you could go from the angle of the integrated castle. So, so the CCA element. We are trying to get ourselves integrated with the local community, and I think that it could be a really alternative route to go down. So like, for example, what I do for CCI, I go into a Glasgow primary school and teach them Latin. So like really almost rogue, but you know, just to show that even though we are Durham students, if that's not what you're going for, we are the new generation.
Excellent. If you'd just like to say your name again.
Harriet Walsh.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone.